Hey everybody, my name is JB Eckl and welcome to my brand new YouTube series called Cooking with Helix. You can also say cooking, that's also acceptable. And in this series, my goal is to provide some of the most important, useful, and hopefully inspiring information about the beloved guitar platform Line 6 has given us called Helix, which has been out since 2015. And I've been using it ever since. And we'll try to bust some myths and explore some esoterica and, you know, maybe just rock out a little bit, have some fun. That's important too. So, you know, that'll be a part of things. So I'm a Los Angeles-based musician and producer and songwriter. And I make records and do session work and all kinds of different things, play in a band. And, you know, I'm a gear agnostic. I'm a little bit of a gearhead, but an agnostic in the sense that I don't think that it's either or. I don't think it's analog or digital, or I don't think it's computers versus tape machines or whatever. If you look around here, you'll see lots of tube amps. I'm a real lover of the tube amplifiers, and I've got an analog synth over here, and lots of synthy plugins and stuff that I use too, and pedals, way too many pedals, both old-fashioned and newfangled. It all goes together. So just know that going in, that I don't differentiate. I like to explore all of it. So because of that, I've been a long time Line 6 user. I started out with Amp Farm, the plugin, which was pretty revolutionary at that time, and everybody got the Pod. I used the Pod, and then the Pod XT Pro. I don't know how many projects I used that on. I took that thing all over the world, made my own record with it. I got that thing to do everything except for make coffee, pretty much, and then even more so with the HD 500. Which I used to always bug Sean Halley about and say, like, can it do this? Can it do that? Can it do that? And then in 2015, in the springtime, Sean finally said to me, JB, cool it. Just wait a few months and all of your problems will go away and all of your questions will be answered. And I said, Sean, whatever could you be talking about? And he said, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So I waited a few months. And boy, was he not kidding. When the Helix dropped, it completely changed my approach to the way that I was going to set up my rig for recording, for live shows, for everything. So that is why I have entitled today's video, Episode 1, 4 Ways Helix Changed the Game and My Life, which is actually true. So here we go. Number 1, the user interface of Helix, the much vaunted Helix GUI or whatever. You know, making sounds, getting tones is supposed to be fun. There's a process there. Guitar players love stuff that has knobs and dials on it and things like that. Music people and creative people in general like that. It's not because we're dumb. It's just because there's a tactile relationship there that we enjoy. We love the gratification of just turning the knob and having the sound change, or, you know, that back and forth that happens with simple gear and analog gear. And I think some of that was lost in the process. My old rig, I had a Sound Sculpture switchblade, and I had all this awesome stuff connecting everything together, and I could make almost any sound, but getting to it was insane. And then trying to recreate something a year later to, you know, remember what I did, forget it. All of that changed with the Helix. That was the first experience I had where getting there was half the fun, in the same way that it is with old-fashioned equipment. So that interface was it was massive. And then there's the hands-free editing, which we'll talk about in another episode probably. But the idea that you can change your sounds without stopping playing your instrument, that kind of brings it up to a whole other level of interactivity. And I don't know if the other platforms have this stuff. A lot of things have been borrowed from Helix. We'll put it that way. That maybe we take for granted now, but game changers. Everybody says game changer. This is a game changer. This actually was a game changer, a changer of the game. Number 2, routing. Anybody who's made lots of records, like recording engineers and especially mix engineers, you know, they get a lot of the sounds that make the magic on your favorite records by blending things, having things on parallel paths, and using auxiliary sends and returns, and having, for example, if you take a vocal or a pair of drum overhead mics and you heavily process them, you squash them and distort them, and you bring that up on one fader, and on the other fader you bring up the clean, dry original signal, and you get a sweet spot between those two. That's the magic. And doing that on guitar rigs was very, very challenging before, except for inside things like Pro Tools and stuff. You could make it happen, but to do it in a live rig or a mobile rig of some kind, brutal. So all that went away with this too, and I dabbled in that with the HD 500, but with Helix it became visual, it became more tactile, it became something that you could really sink your teeth into, and because of that, you can even create your own effects, which we'll get into in another episode too. I can't wait to talk about that, because once you get into parallel paths and once you start routing stuff, a whole vista of possibilities starts to open before your eyeballs. So, number 3, connectivity and control. Those aren't the sexiest words ever, but when you place Helix at the center of a recording studio or a live rig, the amount of ways to get signals in and out of this thing are out of control. So I use it as an audio interface sometimes. Sometimes I forget that you can. Other times it's like it dawns on me, oh, I could just use this as an audio interface. And a really good one at that. Good sounding, ultra flexible. But not just that, just the regular connectivity on it, the way that it interacts with Variacs, the way that it, I always use the effects loops, all 4 of them. And sometimes I have guitar amps, preamps plugged into them. Other times pedal chains and different things like that. And I'll show you that. So here's the thing. I have this crazy rig, and I call it a lot of things. Sometimes I call it the Rig of Doom. Sometimes I call it the Aluminum Falcon, but you can see a lot of pedals are involved, and tube amps. As I said before, you can see that I'm somewhat of a boogie nerd. I love me some Mesa, and there's our beloved baby right there. Whoa, yeah, okay, yeah. So Helix is the brains of this whole operation, and it talks to all of this gear in the coolest ways and makes it do the things that I want it to do. So hard to overstate that aspect of Helix. Even if you weren't getting awesome sounds out of it, which we are, it would still be amazing just for that reason alone. And finally, number 4, that Helix is also, without any of this stuff, a one-stop shop. I know I have a self-contained fly rig or something I can take to a session or something I can just use on its own. It's grab and go. It fits in the nice little backpack with a bunch of cables, and that's it. So I can get out of this headspace of making all these things talk to each other, and I can just take Helix by itself anywhere and get respectable, inspiring, killer tones any day of the week. And that includes Helix Native. I use it every day. My computer setup revolves largely around that too. So I guess I'm kind of a Helix nerd, and that's why I'm making videos. So I would love it if you guys could share in the comments a few of the things you'd like to see me cover. it can be out there. It can be pretty pungent stuff, because if I don't know the answers, I know someone who does. I have some great YouTuber friends that you guys all probably know, who we could chime in with and see what's going on, or some of the guys from Line 6, whose personal information I have somehow gotten a hold of, and they will be contributing also. So we will find the truth. And that's the basic deal with this video. And but I do think that we should hear a little bit of guitar. I mean, there's no rule or anything, but check this out. This guitar, the guitar du jour, is a Gibson ES Les Paul, 2015, same year that Helix was born, so it's perfect for this video. Les Pauls are not supposed to be semi-hollow, and they are not supposed to have a Bigsby on them, but we're breaking all the rules today, and I'll show you why, because this is a dope guitar. I just love it. Noodling. Here's a noodle. One of my favorite models, which will be the topic of episode 2. So I won't even say what model it is yet, but it's probably my favorite. Goodness, that sounds good. It's woolly and purry and furry and lovely. Who's gonna say that, you can't get through a gig with a tone like that? So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope you'll be back for more. Please do like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and all that good stuff. And let's get deep with this stuff, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thanks for watching.